a lot of our listeners might not be aware about the whole difference between gender, sex, and the gender that you have been assigned at birth. There are a lot of connotations and a lot of aspects attached to it. So how do you want to introduce that thing to the listeners who might not be aware about this?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think this is the right place to begin the whole conversation with, because to understand the whole concept of sexuality and orientation, we first need to make aware to anybody like who's new to this concept. We need to tell them to differentiate between what is sex and what is gender. So what you're assigned at birth biologically, looking at your reproductive organs, you're assigned a gender at birth, which is known as your sex. So sex has everything to do with your biological organs and your chromosomes. So basically, as you know, basic biology goes, when somebody has an XX chromosome, they're biologically female, and when somebody has an XY chromosome, sex chromosome, out of all the pairs of chromosome that human body has, then you're termed a male. Like, that's your sex, right? But when we talk about gender is actually a spectrum. So it's not black and white. Like, it's not either male or female. Like, male and female are two ends of the spectrum, and there is many millions of ways that one can express oneself. When I say express oneself, so basically gender contains of two terms. One is your gender identity and one is your gender expression. So by gender identity, I mean, what do you feel inside, right?
I heard somewhere that this X thing and XY thing is not like completely correct. The biological chromosomes and all, I think there are certain other aspects attached to it, and there are some other biological genes or chromosomes, the aspects of that to it. So that conversation could be, obviously, some medical experts could join in and maybe correct us, or maybe correct if we are are incorrect in this situation.
There is actually a third sex, which is termed as intersex. So you can either be assigned male, female, or intersex at birth, right? So intersex people are people who happen to have a mix of both the gonads because of some complications in the fertility process. When an embryo is fertilized by a sperm, there's a lot of things that go into that, like a lot of biology that goes into that. So because of some complications, what happens is these chromosomes happen to mix up sometimes and end up becoming something that is neither completely XX nor completely XY. So
that maybe essentially the 10th standard biology or the 9th standard biology you have studied doesn't have like all the connotations attached to it, like all the aspects are not present in that particular chapter about sex and reproduction and all.
Absolutely. And maybe. I think even though the menial amount of sex education that we study in Indian schools is not completely representative, so because you must have never, I remember there was this small section in the NCERT which mentioned about a mix of gonads, but it didn't necessarily term it correctly. Like, they don't term it as intersex in the textbooks, right? So obviously, yes, our textbooks, Indian textbooks especially, they are quite regressive in that terms. Because all of our sex education that we receive from school is from standard 8th, 10th and 12th. The 12th is only if you take biology in 12th, right? But other than that, everything that we know about sex, about reproduction and stuff like that is only because of that one chapter in class 8th and that one chapter in class 10th. And
which is often skipped by teacher because of in lot of schools and classes it is skipped by teachers.
Yeah,
just not taken seriously.
Yeah, I do remember my teacher telling me about how flowers reproduce, but how humans reproduce somehow, tend to be a topic that teachers seem to avoid, because that sounds more like reproduction in flowers sounds more natural than reproduction in humans for some reason to teachers. Yeah, so I was just telling you that gender consists of two things. One is your gender identity and one is your gender expression. So what gender identity means is one's innermost concept of self as male, female, or a blend of both. All right. So you can what you feel about yourself, like when you look in the mirror, or that's like a physical analog of what I mean by saying that. But like what you feel, how do you define yourself? How do you feel comfortable defining yourself? Right? So it can be a male, a female, or a blend of both. How individuals perceive themselves, basically, and what they call themselves. And while gender expression means your external appearance, like one's gender, I mean, usually expressed through behavior and clothing, haircut, voice, and which may or may not conform to socially defined behaviors and characteristics typically associated with being either masculine or feminine. Like, how you express yourself. For example, I like to wear nail polish, but the society has prescribed a particular kind of a behavior for masculine people. For some reason, by default, males have always been asked to be masculine and females have always been asked to be feminine. But then, I mean, I'm pretty sure that looking back at your own friends from school, you must have pretty much come across people who do not really fit into these ideas of the society, right? Like, you must have seen somebody, some of your classmate or somebody around you who was male, like appearance-wise, but the way they used to express themselves and the way they used to behave was, how to say, stereotypically feminine. Or you can place some female in your life who used to behave a little bit masculine, like who used to have like short hair and talk about manly stuff, stereotypically manly stuff.
Maybe some people used to call maybe these kind of characteristics a tomboy or something.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so these people, and I'm pretty sure I mean, looking at the other side of the spectrum, you could place a guy who used to be effeminate and who used to be bully all the time. I'm pretty sure you must have somebody like that from school, right? So now these people, how they basically go against the society is because the society expects you to be masculine if you're male. As in, that means that if your sex is male, that means your biological assigned gender at birth is male, then you have to be masculine. And if your assigned gender at birth is female, then you have to be feminine. That's what the society expects of you, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that my parents aren't happy about me putting on nail polish, having so many piercings, and wearing gender neutral clothing, because I like to dress up like that. I mean, I am flashy like that. But that's how I want to express myself. So I don't want to put a label on that. I don't want to, I do identify as a male, a cisgendered male. But then again, my gender expression is something completely different. Expression is all about how the society and how you perceive yourself, how you express yourself through clothing or your behavior. So it's mostly behavioral. But gender identity is how you define yourself, how you're, what's your innermost concept of your gender.
What I understand is that boy liking to wear a sari after seeing her mother wear a sari is not just about liking how she looks in a sari. It's a step beyond that, where she is associating herself as a woman by wearing a sari.
Is the child male or female in this scenario?
The male child is a male.
Alright.
He's a boy.
Yeah.
He saw her mother wearing a sari while growing up.
Yeah.
Was seen in a sari quite sometimes. So I'm just saying that him wearing a sari was him not just liking to wear it or just a childish act, but an expression of feeling like a woman because of the assigned characteristics and stereotypes towards a particular gender. Like, that was the expression. This is what I could make of it.
I could say that this can be partially correct because a lot of people might think like that, and these people are actually termed as transgenders. Not exactly per se. scenario that you just mentioned can never completely define what transgender,
obviously.
what being transgender
Obviously.
means. But I think it can be a part of that. Like if I talk about myself personally, I like to wear feminine clothing. I like to wear accessories and nail paints just because I like how it feels on me. So it doesn't necessarily come from a place where I want to feel like a woman or associate myself with a particular societal role of a woman, but it comes from the fact that I like the bling, I like the shine, I like stuff that is beyond masculine and feminine and is somewhere between that. So I for example, I have a very masculine figure. I am 6 feet tall and I have broad shoulders and everything, and I still don't walk away from wearing feminine clothing because I feel good in it. Like I like to wear crop tops, and I like to wear I already mentioned it quite a couple of times. So it doesn't come from a place where I want to embody a woman. It just I identify as a male, but yes, I understand where you're coming from, and I can vouch for a part of the community that does feel like that and wants to when they see women around them, they want to feel like them. And it reaches a point where it becomes uncomfortable for somebody to be in their own skin, to be in their own gender that they were assigned at birth. For example, if I was assigned male at birth, and now when I look around myself, I associate myself with the other gender more. It's somewhere, it feels like my soul doesn't fit inside the body that I was given biologically. That's where the concept of being a transgender comes in. So when somebody is not comfortable in their own body, so there is actually a clinical term for this. It's called gender dysphoria. So when somebody it means clinically significant distress caused when a person's assigned birth gender is not the same as the one with which they identify. So I identify as a female, but I was assigned male at birth. So that means I am a transgender female. So I want to embody a female. I mostly associate with conventionally feminine stuff. And I also feel like my body doesn't feel right. I'm not happy with the genitals that I have. Although that's not completely it. A lot of transgender people go through with the gender... what is that called?
Sex reassignation.
Sex
therapy.
Yes.
Or treatment
surgeries.
operation.
Yes. So a lot of people do go ahead and get their sexes changed and get their sexes reassigned because they're completely uncomfortable with their own genitals and they don't feel right in their own bodies. So these people are called transgenders. But that's not actually all about it. Like when if, for example, a male kid looking at his mother being dressed in a sari and wanting to wear that sari can have a million different meanings. Just it isn't specific to just the fact that he wants to embody his mom, right? So there can be like n number of reasons why he feels that kind of an attraction or wants to embody that. So yeah.
So basically, somewhere or the other, this movement is also about disassociating stereotypes from their gender roles.
Absolutely.
From what they have been assigned to a particular gender, as you mentioned about nose piercings or wearing feminine clothing or whatnot. There can be a million examples about it.
Yeah, it's actually about breaking the system, CISTEM, not system, SYSTEM. The system. It's about the whole thing is about destroying the system, destroying societal expectations and making it okay for people to just be and make their own choices and not be afraid of making those choices, not be ashamed of making those choices.
And okay, so now we have discussed about gender. I think it's quite extensive.
Yeah.
What about the other part, the sexual
Orientation.
identity and orientation, identity and orientation?
So sexuality is basically, I think if I have to place a difference, I can just say that sexuality is all about who you want to go to bed with, and gender is about who you go to bed as. That's the basic difference. So while you decide who you are romantically or sexually attracted in, that's where sexuality comes in, right? So sexuality is again a spectrum. You can place yourself anywhere on the spectrum. Straight and gay are the two ends of the spectrum. You can be anywhere between that, or you can be a superset or a subset of that, right? So it's not that,
or maybe not at all.
or maybe not at all. Absolutely, like any subset or superset of these two ends of the spectrum is what sexuality is.